Yeah, we are laying up good stuff. Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Backdraft and welcome to another episode on Create Above and Beyond. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you love the Create mod, Minecraft automation, and redstone engineering, then this is definitely the series and the channel for you. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. So in the last episode, we got our flywheel power plant up and running directly behind me, and it has been working wonders for us, though I did run into another issue. And that issue was when I went far away enough from the base, which I did the other day, the chunks actually unload, and if the coal is stuck in the blast furnace when I leave the chunk, it seems for some reason it ends up getting smelted. Now, I actually was able to fix that by placing down a bunch of chunk loaders throughout this area. You can create these chunk loaders using a few ender pearls and an enchanting table. You actually get 10 of them for 8 ender pearls and an enchanting table. Now, I know you can actually claim chunks and load them using the Feed the Beast chunk claimer thingy here, but I decided not to do that for now. I just made the chunk loaders. So this seems to be working pretty well. We tested it out, we went into the Nether, we ran away, and it seems to stay loaded and do pretty well. One other thing we were able to do off camera on a live stream actually is finish up the path throughout the entire mega base area. So we went all the way around the mega base, looped around, and built these paths all the way over to the power plant. So we're actually using polished limestone. You can get limestone by first crushing cobble into gravel, then gravel into sand, then sand into lime sand, and then smelting up lime sand gets you limestone, and then you can turn it into polished limestone. And I think this works really well with the rest of the build. I think it really does tie the rest of the area together, and I was able to get rid of a bunch of the ugly torches that we had laying around and replace it with the pretty glowstone that we have. Let me know what you guys think of the path down in the comments. Also, in last episode, once again, if you missed it, check the description for the playlist. You can catch up on all of the things that we've been doing in this world. But also last episode, we revamped our storage system, expanded it out a little bit with some chests, and we built these create contraptions over here. We have our pressing array to get sheet in bulk, we have our crushing wheels going, and our bulk blaster slash bulk washing array right over here. In this episode, I want to make progress towards getting our inductive mechanisms in chapter 3. We don't have much of anything set up for this yet, but it is a bit complicated to get all the way to our inductive mechanisms and our invar machines. There's a lot of industry that we're going to have to set up, and that of course is going to be on the wall behind me. Our mechanism assembly line is going to wrap around all the way along the first floor of the base, and if we run out of space, we're going to go up to the second floor. But before we get into that, there is one thing I want to do. I want to set up our automated create component farm, I guess is what you can call it. And the way that we're going to do that is I've set this up a little bit over here. So we're going to evenly divide all of the andesite alloy that we get, put half of it into making kinetic mechanisms, and the other half we're going to be taking over here. I have these belts set up already, and we're going to be dividing that andesite alloy up into making small cogs, large cogs, shafts, andesite casings, and gearboxes. We're going to do all of that automatically. We're also going to have to take a line of wood. This is where our wood is feeding in from the wood farm outside. We're going to take some of that wood and feed it in over here as well, because we're going to need things like planks and buttons and a few other things, and logs of course, to be able to automate all of that andesite stuff. So that's the first thing we're going to do before we get into the inductive mechanisms in this episode. So let's get cracking. Okay, it's a little while later and we've mixed up some spaghetti. We have some of it ready to go. We're not feeding any wood in yet, but I believe that the assembly that we have here is going to automate our andesite casings, our shafts, our cogwheels, and our gearboxes. I still have to add the industry for the large cogwheels, but let me try and explain exactly what's going on here so you guys can get the gist of it. It is a bit confusing because I had to compact a lot of it down, but I'm actually pretty proud of this, so let me show you guys what we got. So we're actually taking the andesite and we're feeding half of it off to make kinetic mechanisms, and the other half we're feeding off this way. Now, over here, we're actually distributing it evenly amongst these 4 brass tunnels. The first one is going to make small cogs, the second one is going to make andesite casings, the third one is going to make shafts, and the fourth one, which we haven't hooked up yet, is going to make the large cogs. So for the regular cog wheels, the small cogs, It's super hard to see. Let me see if I can get down here. What we have is the andesite is fed into here. This deployer is going to be fed buttons. Then the andesite casing will be fed a button and then pass through this mechanical saw. And that will have to happen 4 times in order to create, I think it's 12 cogs. This is actually the sequenced assembly way of creating cogs. This is exactly what we're doing. So since that has to happen, I believe it's 4 times, it comes out here and it is fed into these chutes, which have a fan at the top, which pulls it up, feeds it up onto this belt up here, and then drops it back down at the beginning. Sorry if this is kind of hard to see. I had to compact all this a lot, like I said. So the finished cogs get fed into this chest here. Half of the cogs actually get fed off, evenly distributed onto these mechanical crafters over here, which are used to create the gearboxes. And our andesite casings, when those are created by these crafters over here, I feel like I'm confusing you guys. Leave it down in the comments if you have any questions. I promise you this all works. But the andesite will come into here. We're going to have to feed logs into this one here. Then the casings, half of them are getting distributed into the drawer, and the other half are actually going into the mechanical crafting assembly over here to be turned into gearboxes. And that's pretty much it. Then half the cogs, the other half of the cogs are fed over here and just go into the cog drawer. For the shafts, it's pretty simple. The andesite comes out here. The first one gets fed into the lower crafter, which is back there. You can kind of see it. And then the second one gets fed into the upper crafter. And then we have our recipe, and the shafts are created and fed into the drawer. So I have to hook up the wood. We have to add some crafters to make buttons. And if we're going to be doing large cogs, the sequenced assembly, we're also going to need planks. So we're going to have to make planks and buttons and distribute those across this entire assembly. Once again, sorry if this is confusing. I had to compact it a lot. I'm actually pretty ecstatic with how well I was able to compact this down. We're probably going to have to feed the large cogs underneath the floor here because I really don't know how else we're going to feed it into this drawer. But either way, I'm going to continue pressing on. We're going to get the wood hooked up. We're going to get the large cogs going, and I'll check back with you guys when that's done. Several hours later, everything is now all set, and this has already been running for a few hours. We have our large cogs going in here. We have about 4,000 of those. We've got about 1,000 andesite casings, about 3,000 shafts, about 3,000 small cogs, and 600 gearboxes. So everything is flowing super smoothly. Sorry if this is a bit laggy. It's all this create industry is causing my frames to drop with the shader pack. We might have to eventually fix that if it gets too bad. But anyway, here is where we're feeding in the wood. So we're distributing these logs from our wood farm evenly between making planks, buttons, and just leaving them as is. So the regular logs are fed in to make the andesite casings. The buttons are to make the large cogs and the small cogs, and of course the planks are fed in to make the large cogs. So all that's getting created and fed into our drawers over here, which is super cool. So we have void upgrades on each of the drawers and iron upgrades, so they can each of the drawers can hold about 8,000 of each, and then once we fill them up, they should all just be voided. The additionals should be voided. And once we fill everything up as well, I think we'll probably just turn this off, because once we have 8,000 of each, I really don't know if we're going to ever need any more for the rest of the series. So we'll just shut it off probably and save our frames. So as you can see, actually there's some andesite casings being created. This is where the shafts will be created. So one andesite goes in there, and the next andesite alley goes up there, creates the shafts. We have the small cogs back here. Kind of got to jump into the spaghetti here. A lot of these actually are accumulating here. I kind of have to probably fix that. I think they'll probably just despawn if too many accumulate. But yeah, so the cogs are half the small cogs are being fed into the drawer, and the other half are actually being fed onto these belts here. I fell down, getting stuck. The other half are being fed into these belts here, which go into this mechanical crafting array that are making the gearboxes. So this took way too long. But I'm pretty proud of how good I was able to compact it with the space that we have here and everything that we needed to feed in from all of our different farms. The andesite, of course, is being fed from the main assembly line back there and into these tunnels right there. So let me know what you guys think of this setup. It's super awesome that we have all this automated and we'll never have to manually craft any of it again. So I think it's time to get into inductive mechanisms, which are going to go along the back wall directly behind me right there. So here is where we are in terms of chapter 3. We haven't really done much of anything yet, but we just got off of a live stream where we did some adventuring and we got all the different types of slimy ferns. So if I open up my map right here, we were actually able to get the sky slime from way over here next to our original jungle base, and just north of our base all the way up here on this island we have, I think it's right here, yeah, so right here is where we found some green slime, and then you can actually combine the green and the sky slime to get the purple slime. So if I just look at the ferns, so the purple ferns, purple slimy ferns, these, well, the leaves can be made using 4 of the slimy, 4 of the green, and then a rune, which we were able to find a couple of those on our mining excursions to get the purple. So these are all an essential part of creating inductive mechanisms, because I believe it's well, essentially we need gunpowder to make TNT, we need ender dust to make the singularities, the quantum entangled singularities, and we need bone meal to make flowers, which will get us the dye. And each of these 3 different types of leaves, I can't remember which one is which, get us each of those things. So it looks like the green slimy fern, this one gets us gunpowder, the slimy ferns get us bone meal, and then that means the purple one gets us the ender dust. So that's that part out of the way. But also in my travels with finding all of this slime, there's a couple other things I was able to do in terms of upgrading my tools. Hold on a second, is that Cloud Strife? Oh no, that's just me. So I made this cleaver from Tinker's Construct, and I actually made this using slime steel, cobalt, and this slime wood. So slime wood has an awesome quality. I can actually let me pop this over here into the pattern builder. So you can see it has the overgrowth ability. So slime steel gives you the over slime ability, which we actually did in a previous episode on our excavator. You have over slime. This one's actually not accumulating any slime. But with over slime and overgrowth actually grows and regenerates the slime onto the tool, which effectively, as long as you give it enough time to regenerate, makes the tool an almost indestructible tool, because instead of using the durability, it will use the over slime before the durability, and with the overgrowth, it will accumulate back up over time. So we made this really awesome cleaver, and I think we're also going to upgrade our pickaxe and our mattock to use the slime wood and slime steel, so we can over slime those as well and keep them regenerating over time. So we're probably going to go ahead and do that right now before we get into inductive mechanisms. Also, in terms of tools, one other thing I was able to build just for quality of life is actually a portable stone cutter. So wherever we are in the world, if we need a stone cutter, we can just whip this out and cut up whatever we need to cut. So I've upgraded my pickaxe and my mattock to have slime steel and the slime wood, so it is now over slimed and is super awesome. The only drawback to this, well, we have more durability, which is another positive, but the only drawback is the mining speed on both of them has gone down. But we can actually fix this by adding haste to each of them. Now, to add haste, you need an available upgrade slot, and you need to just add some redstone to it. I think you need at least 1 upgrade slot. So neither of them actually have any upgrade slots, but I thought they did, but I guess they don't. But we can actually add more upgrade slots to them. So adding a head to the tool gives it an upgrade slot, adding a book and quill gives it an upgrade slot, and adding a music disc also gives it an upgrade slot. So for example, if I add a head to the pickaxe, you can see that I now have an additional upgrade slot. Then I can take the redstone and add haste to it. So if I do a whole redstone block, that might get us to haste 1. I don't know. Oh, actually looks like you need 45 redstone to get to haste 1. So how many blocks is that? And how much mining speed? Okay, so we have 11.8 mining speed now. That's super awesome. So let's do that with our mattock as well. We'll add the head. We're going to have to get more redstone. Probably can just buy some from the store, honestly, with some silver, so we can get some more haste. And that will get us haste for this as well. And that gets us a 13.8 mining speed. That's super dope. But yeah, I'm glad we got our tools upgraded. Let's keep on cracking. They're creepy and they're splody, mysterious and brody. They're all together, Yodi, the creeper family. Ah! So I wanted to go on a bit of an adventure with my new cleaver. So we ran into the Nether and went to the Nether fortress that we discovered a couple episodes ago and did some looting over there. And with the luck enchantment, or upgrade I should say, the luck upgrade and the beheading upgrade that we have on this thing, we were able to get 7 wither skeleton skulls rather quickly. We also got a bunch of other loot from the Nether fortress, and we were able to get ourselves a blaze spawner. We then went off to a nearby wintry biome in search of some rabbits, because in order to get our slime boots back, we have to get a rabbit's foot. So I ran around for a while trying to get one, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get one, and then we just came on back home. So in the end, we got a bunch of blaze rods, we got our blaze spawner, which we could probably add to our mob farm, but I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with this yet, how we're going to farm up the blazes. And of course, 7 wither skeleton skulls, which means we can now go and fight a wither and get our first beacon. And I think we might as well just go and do that right now. Quick side note, if you haven't noticed, I unfortunately had to turn off the shader pack that I was using, so all of this create industry in combination with the shaders was just wrecking my frames. I was steadily at about 15 frames, and I messed around with settings and other mods to try and boost frames for hours and hours and hours, and unfortunately I could not recoup the difference. So I switched back to vanilla, and I'm now actually running a newer mod, which is called the magnesium mod. Essentially, it's the sodium mod for forge. So sodium is used for fabric, the magnesium is used for forge. It's a relatively new mod, but I am getting really fantastic frames now. I have VSync on, and even with all of this create industry spinning behind me, I'm getting a steady 60 frames a second, and it helps a lot with loading up the mod pack. I would highly recommend using this if you guys are doing above and beyond alongside me. Okay, here goes nothing. This should do quite a bit of damage to the wither, I would think. But we'll see. Oh yeah, it's doing pretty good damage. Ugh. Oh man! Fortunately, my dead body's right here. Wow, that made it really easy. Okay, you should be dead, and done. So we're able to get our beacon, which is super awesome, and I actually almost forgot that the beacon makes it really easy to get our refined radiance, because if you take the chromatic compound that we have to craft up using the magenta paintballs, and then you throw that into a beacon beam, you get the refined radiance. There's other ways to do it using torches and whatnot, but actually having the beacon makes it super easy. So I'm kind of glad that we went and got this so early. Alrighty, so we are kind of running out of time for this episode, but what I'd like to do before we end is make some progress towards inductive mechanisms. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to set up this contraption here that I designed in a creative testing world that generates the ender dust, the gunpowder, and the bone meal that we're going to need to create our TNT, our flowers, and our, what are they called? Quantum entangled singularities. So essentially this is a super compact way of taking the ferns that we went out and collected, slicing them down, I guess, into leaves, and then duplicating them and generating, like I said, the gunpowder, the bone meal, and the ender dust. So we're not going to get much more done in this episode, unfortunately. Like I said, we are running out of time, so we're going to set this bad boy up where we want it, probably by the staircase, and probably going to get the schematic cannon going and get it ready, and then I'll explain to you guys exactly what it's doing. So the contraption is now all set, and I'm going to do my best to explain to you guys what it is doing. So we're starting off with ferns, and the ferns are being cut by these deployers, which are holding knives, and when the fern is cut with the knife, it produces 2 leaves. Now one of the leaves is going into the millstone and being created into the blend, and then the blends are being cooked on these stoves up here, and they're becoming either the ender dust, the bone meal, or the gunpowder at the end. The other leaf is actually being sent upwards here into this spirit fire, and when the leaf is cooked in the spirit fire, it turns back into another fern, so we can effectively keep this contraption going forever and keep these items automated. It's really cool. If you guys have any questions about this contraption, feel free to leave them down in the comments, or if you're interested in the schematic for this, I can actually send it over to you. I'm pretty proud of how compact we were able to get this, and it looks really cool too. But anyway, ladies and gents, that's all the time I have for this episode. If you liked it, please not hesitate to hit that thumbs up, and if you're looking forward to future episodes on Above and Beyond, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Sorry that this episode is a bit late. I am starting a new series on Symmetria Season 8, which is a vanilla SMP that I am a member of, so we're probably going to be doing some videos on that server, so keep an eye out for that. But thank you guys so much for joining me once again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we are in the place to be. Yeah.